Hey folks, this is Jake with Seattle Coffee Gear, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the importance of water filtration and water softening when it comes to home coffee brewing. So when we talk about water, water is essential for coffee brewing. It makes up about 97% of the end product. So you got to make sure that your water is good going in to make sure that your coffee coming out is going to be as tasty as possible. And when it comes to water, there's two different sides of things that we really stress and want to make sure that you're keeping in mind when you're making your brews at home. And that is going to be water softening. That is the hardness of the water. That is the buildup of calcium, magnesium, some other minerals that make water harder or softer. And then water filtration, which is a little bit different because some water filters don't take out or don't soften your water, but they do make the water taste better at the end of the day. And that is an important thing for sure. They remove things like chlorine, carbon, fluoride, things that make your water taste just a little bit off. And we just want to make sure that you are taking account of both those things when you're brewing at home to make sure that you're getting the most delicious coffee that you can. So in a drip brewer, like this precision brewer that we have here, water softening is not necessarily as important because you can descale this machine at home pretty easily. It just takes a descaling cycle. You can even set your water hardness on the machine here. So you want to make sure that your water in a drip brewer is soft enough. If you live in an area where you know that you have really hard water, and usually do, because when you're like boiling water in a pot or a pan, it will leave residue on the sides of the pot or pan. That just means you have a lot of dissolved solids that make your water more hard. Your shampoo may not lather up as well. But if you live in an area like that, you probably already have a water softening system, but if you don't, using something like a water pitcher that has a softening effect on it is a really good method to help get that level of magnesium and chloride and things like that down to make your water softer. And if you don't use anything like that, it's okay, but you may still want to use like a water filtration pitcher to make the taste of your coffee better in a drip brewer like this, because you're going to be removing those chemicals. You're going to be making that water taste more pure. And in a drip brewer, that's going to make a big difference in how the end result in your carafe ends up tasting. And you're really going to notice it. I noticed it when I started filtering my water here where I live. And I don't soften my water because I live in a naturally softened water climate here in Seattle. But filtering the water made a big difference in the end brew, getting all those notes out, making my coffee extract better, and making sure that I'm getting the most out of those coffee beans that I am buying and grinding at home. Now for an espresso machine, it's a little bit different. So in a machine like this, Rocket does not recommend home descaling on their machines. A lot of other high-end manufacturers like this don't recommend home descaling. In fact, they recommend professional descaling. So with that being said, the biggest thing that you want to do is probably prevent descaling as much as possible. And the best way to do that is by softening your water to an extent. There's such a thing as too soft of water, but if you live in an area where the water is generally moderate to hard on an espresso machine, it's even more important not just to filter your water for the best taste, but to soften your water, because the boiler in here, like in the Apartamento, it's a heat exchanger. That water is constantly cycling, it's constantly heated, and if your water is super hard and you're not, being careful as to what water goes into your machine, that can lead to buildup over months and years, and it can clog outlet pipes like your hot water or your steam valve. It can clog the outlet pipe of the E61 group head here, so you may not even get any water out of your group head. And because you can't descale these at home, or not recommended to descale at home by the manufacturer, it can be really tricky when you do get into that position to alleviate the problem without a professional service. So with that being said, the best way to prevent scale is to have water that is softer. And Rocket makes a pouch that you can drop into your water tank. It just sits in there. What it is basically a resin pouch. It's an ion exchange pouch. And in simple terms, you're basically exchanging the magnesium and the chloride and the calcium, mostly the calcium, for sodium into your water, and that makes it softer. For most water uses, that's going to be a good enough softening system. But if you are in a hard water area or super hard water area, say like you're in Salt Lake City or something like that, where the water is known to be destructive or so hard that it can be destructive like other appliances, you may want to actually use bottled spring water or even bottled distilled water with an additive packet like third wave water or something like that. They provide a additive that can be added to water, and that brings the minerals back up to the recommended specs for an espresso machine by using distilled water at the start. But whatever you do, if you do live in that hard water area, don't take skill for granted, because it's one of the easiest ways to destroy a nice handmade machine like this. If you're using it for a few months on super hard water, that is sometimes enough to clog up the pipe work here and the boiler internals, like the outlet pipes and the small copper piping that they have in there. And you don't want that, of course, when you have a nice espresso machine, and softening your water is one of the easiest ways to prevent damage, and it's one of the most preventative maintenance steps that we can recommend here at Seattle Coffee Gear to keep your machine nice and healthy. If you're interested, there are some water calculators online. La Marzocco makes a really fantastic water calculator for those of you who want to dive into more technical details of your water, if you're really getting into the home espresso game. But usually all you need to know is that for home espresso, you're going to want your water as soft as possible, as easily as possible. So if that means bottled water to you, use bottled water. If it means a softening pouch in your water tank, go ahead and do that. But you definitely want to do something to make sure that your water is soft and also filtered. So those are the quick in and outs of water filtration for a couple different types of machines that we have here at Seattle Coffee Gear. And I just want to thank you so much. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.